Welcome to Making Stuff, the podcast about people who make something out of nothing. I'm your host, Eliza Tebow, a musician and journalist who spent years producing creative projects from scratch and paying attention to how things actually get built. On today's episode, we're sitting down with Mark Reiter, a vinyl pressing company executive at Furnace Records, a recording engineer, and a totally rad drummer. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us first what the first record was that you ever purchased, if you recall.
I do. I bought two records on the same day. My dad made me mow the lawn all summer so that I could buy these two records. And we lived in Buffalo, New York, and there was a drugstore that had end caps. And there was Neil Diamond, the soundtrack to The Jazz Singer, and I wanted that because I saw him play on TV, and they played the song America, come into that, and it was the first time I'd seen a band play. I think I was 6, 7. It was the first time I'd seen like a drummer, and a drum set, the whole thing, and then Kiss Destroyer was right next to it. And my mom wasn't going to let me buy the Kiss record, so I had to make sure that my dad took me to the drugstore to get it. So on the same day, I bought Neil Diamond's Jazz Singer and Kiss Destroyer.
Very similar records.
They're very,
very
similar.
Sweet. Okay, so that's the first record, or the first records you bought. What would you like to be the last record you ever listened to?
Oh, like right before the end?
Right.
Oh, what a question. So I would probably, if we're trying to encapsulate a life and the joy and sorrow and all the hardship of living, I probably the second Bon Iver record, the one that has Holocene on it and Perth, and so probably that one.
Okay, good one to go out on.
Yeah.
Okay, and for listeners who don't know you, walk us through a little bit of your experience as a musician. So you said, you first saw a drummer at 6 or 7. Did you gravitate toward the drums initially, toward the guitar, toward something else?
Yeah, immediately. So I for whatever reason, drums were always the thing. And I'm a Gen Xer, so MTV was a huge part of my childhood, and it was really the video for I Don't Care Anymore by Phil Collins, and this is very drum heavy song, and it's got that big Phil Collins drum sound, and I watching that video, and then there was TV performance or an MTV, a concert performance of them playing that song. And I was like, I have to do this. This is amazing. And I was just fascinated by all the different sounds and like the way that the kick drum sounded, it doesn't seem like it should sound like that. And it was, I wanted to do it more than anything. And my mom did not want a drum set in the house.
I don't know why.
And much like Dad taking me to buy the Kiss record, I think probably for maybe the only second time in his life, he violated standard operating procedure. And for my 13th birthday, he bought me a Pearl Export drum set. And my dad was a drummer. My dad had played in the drum and bugle corps when he was a kid. And so we shared this in common.
Yeah.
And I took it and I ran with it as far and as fast as I could. I joined a band. I played in bands in high school, and I really gravitated towards sort of these really authentic forms of music, like prog rock and punk rock. I know there doesn't seem like there's a lot of crossover there, but there's like an authenticity and an energy and a grittiness to a lot of that music, even though they're kind of, hanging out on different ends of the rock and roll spectrum, and metal too. So I joined a fairly successful for our tier punk fans. And we, got in the van and did the thing, signed to a record label, put out 7 albums, did the thing.
And that's Daycare Swindlers.
That's the Daycare Swindlers, yeah.
Yeah.
And we tried for many years to monetize a thing that nobody wanted, which was the Ska-Punk of 5 idiots from Virginia.
Was that what
we
you
did?
Feel
Okay,
like?
We did okay.
You got signed. You put out a bunch of albums.
Yeah.
You went on tour. I mean, that sounds like the dream, is it not?
Yeah, we played several hundred shows. We're going to play again this year. Every once in a while, we dust off the suits and see if they still fit. And the joke is that we're like the crappy Avengers. We only exist when called upon, and we get called upon less and less and less.
But you're still getting called upon, and that's
every once in a while.
Something. Yeah. So, and when and where are you playing? In case anybody's local and wants to check it out.
So this is our 30th year together.
Wow.
And so we've been playing. Thank you. With the same members. By the way,
that's
we
amazing.
added a guy, but it's the same 5
original
morons.
lineup.
Yeah. They're not, they are morons, but also I love them dearly, like brothers. Respectfully, and I count myself as one of them. We're playing the Salisbury Center in Manassas on September 12th or 13th, whatever that Saturday in September is.
Okay. I've seen you guys live. You're incredible. So for the local listeners out there, they should definitely check it out. Okay. So how did you... Well, okay, and then you started a whole chapter somewhere in there being a recording engineer. So not only were you performing, but you're going, I don't know what's behind the table, behind the board.
The glass, as they say.
Behind the glass. Okay, behind the glass. How'd you get into that whole world?
The first band that I was ever in, Mant, half man, half ant.
Wait a minute. Wasn't there? I'm thinking of like Ben Stiller or something. Like there was some kind of comedy with.
Yeah. We stole it.
Oh, I see.
We stole it. I think the movie was Mark V. Maybe it was a John Goodman movie, and I forget. I've only seen it once.
Okay.
But yeah, we stole. We were the Stump Mummies to start with, and we didn't feel like we could get any traction with that, so we landed on Mant.
Okay. Do you get traction there?
None. We were real weird. Like it was the sort of very angular cross of progressive rock and DC hardcore.
Okay.
We were so ahead of our time that no one cared. So, we went to Inner Ear to record, and it was my first experience recording anything. I just remember like we're tracking bass in the control room, and like bass player would like play one note and like 6 things would happen. I was like, this is amazing. I feel like I'm in the Millennium Falcon. I have to be a part of this. So, back then, that was the beginning of the kind of home recording revolution. So for
what kind of, not to interrupt, but what kind of year what year are we talking about?
So this is 93, 94. And so you could buy a reasonably, like a good 4-track that, it's still a cassette, but, like 8 inputs and so I just became obsessed with it. And it was a lot of DIY stuff. Like you put a microphone inside of a PVC pipe and, so all kinds of goofball recording techniques. And I found a local studio. I recorded the first Daycare Swindlers album on 8 tracks on an 8-app machine. I took it to a local recording studio. I was like, this is pretty good, right? And he's like, no, it's terrible. It sucks. So we redid the record backwards. We did guitars first and drums second with no click tracks. All the mistakes.
Yeah.
but yeah, so I did that either part time or full time all through my 20s and 30s. And it's not a great way to make a living. It can be a tough way to survive, just like being a musician.
Mm-hmm.
But I still do it today.
Mm-hmm.
I work at Bias,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah. So I've had some amazing, very powerful musical experiences being in the same room as a recording engineer. Is
Mm-hmm.
some pretty magical things happening.
Mm-hmm. So you're still an engineer today because of your passion for that work versus needing to get a paycheck. Is what I'm hearing you say.
No,
No.
yeah, it's I I, I mean I I like the extra money. I use it to buy drums and guitars,
Yeah,
but
because you need more. You
no,
always need more.
yeah, it's a sickness. But I still do it because I love it.
Yeah.
I still love it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're a drummer, you're a recording engineer, and then how did you get into the record making business, which is very different industry.
So the trajectory is weird. I was working at George Mason University in the registrar's office, and I had been given a part time job there, doing data entry stuff when I was in college, and it became clear I was on the 7-year plan, and it became clear, that even if the Daycare Swindlers were going to, I mean, we continued, but it was just not, no one's going to make a living doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a full-time job at Mason, and I'm just not the right person for that thing. Like sitting at a desk,
Data
like
entry.
I got all this, like, yeah, I got all this, wacky energy and drummer
Mm-hmm.
energy and can't sit
Mm-hmm.
still and the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. So my friend Allie, who's now the CEO here at Furnace,
Mm-hmm.
she's like, do you want to get out of there and come work at this CD duplication company? I'm like, I'll do anything. So we were not making vinyl at that time. We were just doing CDs and DVDs and just optical and stuff. So I had a little bit of Oracle experience. They wanted to automate some stuff, with the duplication equipment. So I came to Furnace, and that was how I got over here.
Okay.
There was 7 people here when I started.
Okay. How many people are there now?
Right now there's 85. During the pandemic, we were at 115.
Wow. And so what year did Furnace start, and then what year and how did it switch over to records, which for a while people weren't, super interested in?
Yeah. So we were in the optical business, brokering large jobs, doing small runs in-house. And at that point, you could do a pretty convincing job in a CDR with there was the printing technology to do full color print on the CD was pretty sophisticated then. So you could do a convincing job. And this is 2008 when I started here. And that year, Eric Astor, who owned Furnace, was approached by somebody from Warner Brothers and said, hey, look, vinyl is making this weird, unexpected comeback. And we want to increase our footprint. Can you press records? And Eric, being the entrepreneur that he is, lied and said, "Of course we
Sure.
can
Do it tomorrow."
Sure. I mean, how hard can it be? Well, it turns out it's really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
But we made a partnership agreement with an amazing pressing plant in Germany. We became the sole North American partner. Once he had that locked down, we rented a warehouse. We bought a forklift. We bought a shrink wrapper. No one knew what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we imported the vinyl, and so it was already pressed, and we did the assembly here, and that's how we got started in it.
Mm-hmm.
And as the vinyl resurgence sort of took off, we Eric made the decision that we should become a pressing plant. And so, at the time, there were no new record presses being made yet. So if you wanted to get into it, you had to like scour the face of the earth.
Get
to
on
find...
eBay and...
Well,
I mean,
no,
like, how are you looking for these things?
Is that a lot of people are like searching, literally going to Africa and China and all over the world to try to find record presses that they could paste back together and get working again. And a guy from Mexico City called, and he acquired, by acquired, I mean, nobody wanted them. So he had a bunch of record presses from the Sony Mexico plant in his backyard. It's like they were covered, kind of.
Yeah.
And
it's like subject to the elements.
Oh yeah. They were in terrible shape, but we had no choice. Like, if we're going to do this, this is how we have to do it. So we went down there, me and this guy, Alex Reiter, who used to work here, and we worked with a brokering company and shut down 2 city blocks of Mexico City for 2 days, and got the presses onto a truck and brought them back here. We had to bribe the police to do it, and then
This is crazy. It's just because it's so big. Like, all the equipment is just so large that you have to shut down a couple blocks.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 semi-tractor trailers full in a neighborhood during a political protest that had the city like paralyzed.
Wow.
So it was crazy. Yeah. So, we bribed the police to do it. And then day 2, this story has been on Vice and, a couple of other places, but there was narcos who were like, what are these idiots doing? So they bribed the police so they tell the narcos what we're doing. And, we're hiding. Like, it was a crazy thing.
Do you guys didn't get any footage of all this? Did you? It would be great television.
I have camera video of us hiding in the backyard and being told not to speak any English.
No, you don't. Do you really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay,
yeah.
That could. Yeah, that would be good to see. All right, so walk us through. Since this show is called Making Stuff, how do you make a record? If you're able to explain it without having all of the materials in front of you, just for people who've never seen it happen.
So it's arcane, and it's it has not evolved really at all, at least in terms of like the basic steps. Making records is, many people have tried. The machinery is better, the materials are better, but the process is the same. So we take our whatever the sound source is, song, but whatever it is. And that 2-track master goes to a cutting engineer. The cutting engineer has a machine that will take either the digital file, whatever our source file is,
MP3 type thing.
Right, turn that into electromagnetic impulses on this lathe. We have a disc. The disc has an aluminum core. It's covered in this acrylic material. And we cut a record from that, literally. So it's, it's doing this and going around in a circle and cutting these grooves into this disc. So, and that's a very specialized thing. It's not easy to do. The machinery is challenging to work with, and you have to be, the frequency response of vinyl is technically narrower than the frequency response of digital, even though we perceive it being wider.
What does that mean? I know frequency is a scientific term, but what does that actually mean?
So like you can't have the same kind of the same amount of high end on a record that you do on a CD. So like the higher frequencies have a lot of energy. So if you've got too much energy in the high end, then the stylus in your record freaks out and bounces around. It makes distortion, and low end is the same. So we don't want to have like all of these frequencies sort of have to be, basically the sonic landscape of the thing has to be managed. by the cutting engineer. So
Okay.
they have to take whatever this is and make it conform to the spec of vinyl.
Okay. So does that mean that your listening experience when you're listening to a record versus a CD is, I mean, clearly it's qualitatively different. I think we typically think about it like, oh, a record is more scratchy, it's more fuzzy, but it's also, you're saying it's also more limited, like the highs and the lows
Well,
aren't as intense.
it's okay. So this is so at home, Google RIAA curve.
Okay.
So the machinery compensates for this on the other side.
Okay.
Your record player does
Yeah.
to some
Yeah.
extent. So, but yes, so the cutting engineer's job is to make it conform to this slightly narrower frequency band, which is then compensated for on the user end.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So continuing on. So
Right.
you've cut the
So
record.
we got the lacquer. Yeah, we've got the lacquer. And the lacquer's fairly fragile. It's temperature sensitive. It's it needs to get to its next phase pretty quickly. So the next phase is it goes into a booth and it's sprayed with silver nitrate, which is electroconductive. And then we throw that into an electroforming bath full of nickel pellets and nickel sulfamide, and we electroplate that silvered lacquer. And so all the particles stick to it, and we have what we call a father. So the father is the negative of the lacquer.
Father, like FATHER.
Yeah, like dad.
Okay.
Yeah. So in electroplating, when we're making, it's a family, right? So the next step is we make a mother, which is a reverse of that. And then all the copies of that thing are copies of the mother. And again, there's
You want to copy the woman, not the man. I mean, let's get real.
that's yeah. And we don't call the next stage babies, but the babies are called stampers. And
It's not as cute.
and
Okay.
it's not as cute. It's not as cute. You can make records from the father, but and there are some strategic and manufacturing limitations that come with putting a father into the press, which because there's a direct copy of the lacquer. The lacquer can't really be used. It can be used twice if you're lucky, but it gets spent. It has a very finite life. So, generally speaking, we're gonna make these copies of the mother, and that's what's going to go in the press.
Okay.
So we got top and bottom, A side, B side, and those affix to dies in the press. The dies are thick and they're a labyrinth channel. So the stampers are attached to the dies. The press itself is a hydraulic press, squeezes closed at 3,000 pounds of pressure. So as the press itself, high pressure steam shoots through the die, radiates out, heats the surface of our stamper so that the base material, the raw material that we use to make records, which is polyvinyl chloride, that's being extruded into what looks like a hockey puck. And that's going to be our record. So that gets pushed into the press. We're heating everything. Labels come in. Records have a top and bottom label. So we're making a sandwich. Puck in, labels in, sandwich, heating, press closes, and smashy, that puck spreads out over the surface of the record. And what are ridges on the stamper become the grooves of the record.
Wow.
And then right before the press opens, we shoot cooling water through the dies so that when the press opens, the record comes off the stamper cleanly, doesn't stick to it. And we get some extra material around the edge, which is called flash. The machine grabs hold of the flash, drops it on a trimmer table, and we've got a record.
Thank you for walking us through that. It's a lot of steps and pretty incredible. Are those the same machines that you got originally in Mexico City, or have you since made your own machines or acquired machines from elsewhere?
No, thank goodness. people started to, there's a few companies that started to make new record presses. And we have, so our original machines were Tulex Alpha presses, and that company restarted. One of the family members started it back up in his garage and then became a company again. So the presses that we have now look identical to the ones that we got from Mexico. They're just, so the form factor is the same. All the controls, the valves, everything on it is modernized, but it's the same machine. So, you know, when we got the Tulexes, we sent them off to be refurbished, and it wasn't great. When we got them back, they would break every day. So our days were like, get them working enough to make records. We get 2, 3, sometimes 500 records off them. They break again. So we learned everything about these machines because we had to keep them alive. They weren't, you know, we were by sheer force of will, we made them live again. So when we had the opportunity to get new presses, we jumped on it immediately. But one of the great things about that is we knew so much about those machines by the time we got the new ones. And we got our first two right before COVID hit, and they're made in Sweden, and Sweden couldn't, you know, Swedes couldn't travel here. So we installed all 12 of the machines that we have now by ourselves. Our maintenance team did that themselves. And I don't know if this is still true, but at the time we were the only pressing plant in the world that had done it with no on-site support from the manufacturer.
So you seem to know a lot about, or pretty much everything probably, about how these machines work and how records are made. How do you keep the process? Is the process still interesting to you? I know your job at the company is not to actually physically manufacture the records. Actually, why don't you just kind of summarize what you do at Furnace?
So aside from maintenance, I've done most of the jobs at some point, but now I'm the COO. So I manage the managers, and sort of, you know, culturally, I'm sort of making sure that the culture of the place is growing, adapting, and building us into the company that we want to be. So, you know, we pride ourselves on quality. So, you know, I when I say it's not even fair. The word I shouldn't be, it's the only way I know how to talk about it, but I have a team of people that is beyond amazing. So if this weird head comes up with an idea and I throw it out to my managers, they make it happen. But we learned a long time ago by failing over and over again that we needed to be flexible, adaptable. We embraced something called lean manufacturing, which is an extension of the Toyota production system. Essentially a culture of continuous improvement and a culture of mutual respect. So one great way to say that, and these are not my words, these are words of and ideas. We're standing on the shoulders of giants, anyone that does manufacturing. So, lean manufacturing could best be described as a collection of small ideas by everybody. And every single thing at Furnace that we do, even remotely well, is a result of a solved problem. Okay. So my job is essentially to make sure that we are still thinking with that mindset, that we're still trying to eliminate waste and process, that we're growing our people, that we don't slip ever into the idea that we're coming here to make records. We come to work to get better at making records. So yeah, I think the best way to describe it is that I'm trying to, my job is essentially to make sure that our eyes stay on a culture of continuous improvement.
Got it. So in your role, it sounds like you probably have to be both proactive and reactive. So sort of thinking about like, what's our long-term strategy? What are our goals? How do we move closer to our goals today? Also, you have to deal with problems and things that come up.
I think
If that's accurate. So how do you kind of balance those things? And yeah, I'll just stop there.
well, again, the team is so awesome. When we the ideas from them are coming at me with much greater frequency than my ideas going out to them. You know, that's how it works now. And the balancing it, you know, it's weird because I've been here. I've been here 18 years in September, and it's gone from every day is a crisis, every minute is a crisis, to, you know, like when we built this, there's no instruction manual for how to build a pressing plant.
No?
You no, and the machines don't, you know, like the machines didn't even come with an instruction manual really
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
like 3 years after we got them. So you're just figuring things out all the time, and it's
Yeah.
and and it's awful because it has to work and it doesn't, you know. So the setting the long-term goals and the vision is, that's the fun work, you know. Adopt it, like evolving the quality standard all the time, which, you know, we're always buying records from other pressing plants and seeing how we stacked up. And you know, sometimes it's, "Ugh, damn it," and then sometimes it's like, it's pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So not ever letting us rest on our laurels, you know. And then there are problems all the time. Record pressing is not an exact science. You know, the machines which are, you know, take heavy electric, high pressure steam, high pressure water, vacuum, hydraulic, and air. They're not copy machines. You know, the operators make the records good. QC makes the records good. The machine will make bad records all day long. It doesn't care. So,
And you
but
guys,
all
not
of
to
that,
interrupt, but you have a room full of people who are doing quality control, like sitting there listening and making sure that they're where they're
yeah,
supposed to be.
yeah, we have a 3-stage QC process. So it's, you know, solving problems is much less about like, you know, oh, our ass is on fire right now. We've, you know, the problems are much easier to solve than they used to be. No, but I was just gonna say, it's like it's the difference between, you know, being in fight or flight and then the calm that you feel after maybe a workout or you meditate. That's like the difference between then and now.
The now sounds a lot better.
Then our now is way better than our now used to be.
Yeah. Okay, and are you all seeing just increased demand? I mean, demand just continuing to go up for vinyl, or has that stabilized a little bit? At least
Billion
that's my
dollars in sales, $1 billion in sales domestically last year. But the trajectory continues to go up. We're not still in double-digit growth where we were for, you know, many, many years, but we're still in growth. The format is beloved. You know, it there's energy and passion for it out in the world. There's been a roller coaster ride for pressing plants. During COVID, everybody's at home and record sales went insane. And there was not enough capacity to meet the demand. So all these pressing plants were coming online, and some good, some not good. So we got this real mixed bag of experience and just so when people started to go back to work and we had this we had sort of this massively increased capacity because there was more players in the game.
Yeah.
It sort of did this. So record pressing went through kind of a scary time.
Like, is this just a fad? Do we just invest all this energy in a fad?
It wasn't, no, because sales in the market remained really strong. It wasn't that. It was that there was more players in the game on the manufacturing side. Mm-hmm. But at least for us, that's more than leveled out. We had between 2025 and 2024, 80% growth. So
wow.
At least in terms of actual units manufactured. So we run 20 hours a day, 2 shifts. Mm-hmm. So we like where we are right now.
And Metallica bought the company a few years ago. Is that correct? They're owners, or what's the accurate?
So they are the majority owners of the plant. We sold it to them. The burdens of at the time that Eric decided he wanted to sell the company, there was over 100 people here. It's a ton of responsibility. If you're a single owner, your own personal money is getting used for capital expenditures. It's a lot,
Yeah.
Like what we do isn't necessarily dangerous, but it is manufacturing. Mm-hmm. So, everybody, most of the people that work here have a pretty big heart, and Eric included. So you form attachments to people and inherit a sense of responsibility for well-being if you're in leadership, as you should, as you absolutely should. If you can't feel that, you shouldn't be leading people.
Yeah.
That was preachy, wasn't it?
But it was
preachy.
True.
But if you can't feel compassion and empathy for people, you shouldn't be in leadership.
You should have a different role.
Yeah. Whatever it is, just hedge fund manager. So the burden financially, emotionally, it's a lot. So he decided to sell the company. We had a couple of offers, big dollar offers from major labels, and it became clear that they would destroy the place. And the last thing that we wanted was for all of this hard work to get pulled apart and sold off. So, I think after a few drinks on a park bench, Eric said to somebody from Metallica's management, we've pressed Metallica's vinyl from the very beginning. The first job we ever did was a Metallica job. And he was like, "Do you guys want to buy it?" And the answer turned out to be yes.
Okay. And why were they interested in owning a record manufacturing company? I mean, they're still touring, and I don't know. I don't know what their downtime looks like, and I don't know what their active role is in the company either.
I could not tell you other than
we'll have part 2 with Metallica on the show. I can't speak for them. All I can tell you is that they when they came here, James is very invested personally, and the band owns a charitable organization that is focused on the trades, and record pressing, and what we do here is working with your hands and your mind, of course, too, but we make a thing. And I think that they have some true and deep affinity for that work, and so they bought a thing that makes a thing. And beyond that, we would have to ask them. Right. Yeah, I'll reach out to them shortly, see what they have to say. Um, I I had well, it's interesting. I I guess it's obvious, but I hadn't really thought, even after visiting the plant, about the fact that a record making business is very much manufacturing business. It's an integral part of the music industry, but it's not in the music making business. It's like in the music, like the facilitation of the music, but it's really a manufacturing business. So it's just good that you point that out. Okay, I only have two more questions for you. One is just what you think it is based on your experience with records, as well as like feedback that you've must have received over the past, almost 2 decades from people you've worked with. Like, what is it about records that keeps us interested in this medium when there's so many other ways to experience music?
I think it's so subjective, but the answers that come, to this question that come back make sense to me, based on my own experience with records. And one of them is simply the joy of discovery in this very purposeful activity where you have the record. A lot of it is shopping for the record. Sure, you know, I don't know the percentage of record sales that are direct to consumer, online. But you're still hunting. But this sort of, well traveled and magical path of going to the record store, I've heard of this band. I saw her on TikTok, whatever it is. So this communal thing of going to the record store. There's some grumpy guy behind the counter that wants to tell you about the first three Al Green albums and how you're an idiot if you don't.
About
Right.
every recording that was ever made.
Right. And it's great. They're going to teach you, you're going to learn something you never knew about, did you know that Stevie Wonder black? Or, did you know whatever that Sabrina Carpenter black? So you have this communal shared experience, and then you take that thing home and take the shrink wrap off it, and there's pictures in there, and there's a lyric sheet, and it's all so intentional. And also, yes, you can do other things while you're listening to records, but you can't leave
No.
and still have the experience. You can't put your AirPods in and do the dishes or whatever. You're in the room with the thing. And so, not to be too spiritual about the thing, but music, Kurt Vonnegut, right? All music is sacred. I believe that. If it's sacred, then it demands attention. It deserves attention and focus. And also, you own it. There's something. It's America, man. You own this thing. You can display it. You can put it in your collection. It's yours. And I think that there's just something about pulling it close and holding it in this. It's an intimate format, and the artist kind of has a say in the order that you listen to it. Sure, you can skip around, of course, but you're going to experience the thing in a way that was intentional when the producer and the artist sort of put the songs in these order, and you may discover something. And I think people are discovering, there's a story beneath the story that vinyl tells, because I'm listening to this thing in a sequence, and the sequence is intentional. It's not shuffle. Right. So what is the story here? And a lot of times there is one. The collectability of it is pretty, most records have multiple variants. There's different colors, there's a splatter, there's some special version of it. So, and then there's proof of fandom. I take it back to, Rush and Genesis, and, how do I feel connected to this band? I go and I buy the record, and I got this thing, and there's Neil Peart and the drum sets everywhere. I feel, and still at 53 years old, I don't feel it as acutely, it's not, it's already done a lot of its work for me. Like it's, it's all stitched around who I am, but I still feel it, I just bought, it's the last record I bought. I bought a really cool version of Noah Kahan's Stick Season, and the reissue of Momentary Lapse of Reason by Pink Floyd. And I was so psyched to get them home and check them out, and I did what I did when I was 13 years old. I didn't coffee but I'm there with my dogs and my coffee, and I'm listening to All My Love by Noah Kahan and just having the best time on a Sunday morning. So
yeah,
that's a long answer. It's a long answer to, I think that it's an intimate experience with music that streaming isn't necessarily getting at.
Yeah, very well put. And one of the things I thought about as you were talking was how you go to the record store and you maybe pick out something new or grab something from the bargain bin you've never heard of. So there's this point of discovery. But then as you bring it home, especially if, you connect with it, it becomes part of your identity. So, yeah. Last question. What would you do if you weren't making stuff? Meaning as a career, not like, I would travel.
I don't, I've done other things and I am not good at it. I'm not disciplined or smart enough to be in an office with spreadsheets, and my mind doesn't work that way. My father spent his entire life in manufacturing, and my brother is in manufacturing. To some extent, my sister's in it's
in the family.
It makes sense to me. Being a recording engineer or a musician isn't manufacturing, but you're still making things. So I have no answer for that. Like I don't. If anyone's ever seen me throw a football, that sports wasn't going to be
no
the
sports,
thing.
no spreadsheets.
No,
but music.
Actually, I'm pretty good at throwing a football. I'm pretty good at it. But
we'll see. We'll test this out.
Okay, so I love what I do. I can't even conceive of doing something else.
Well, that's a good answer. It means that you're in the right business. Well, that is it for this episode of Making Stuff. If you found this conversation engaging and inspiring, you can find more episodes and resources at makingstuffpodcast.com. There you can also buy us a virtual coffee so we can keep the episodes coming. Thanks so much to our guest, Mark Reiter, and thank you for listening.